When we read text, it is helpful to group the words into meaningful chunks or phrases. This helps provide rhythm to what we read and helps us understand what we read. The goal is to group words into phrases while reading, just as we do when speaking. We group words based on their meanings or what questions they answer. Turn to page 137 in your student books. We will practice reading sentences that have been broken into phrases. Our goal is to read chunks instead of individual words. This will help us read more fluently. Let's look at the first sentence. I will read each phrase and I want you to repeat it. As you read the phrase, I want you to scoop it by joining the beginning dot and the end dot with your pencil. Then we will read all of the phrases together as a complete sentence, scooping as we read. Jim's stuff was spilling onto the steps. Jim's stuff was spilling onto the steps. The fat hogs will nap in the slop. The fat hogs will nap in the slop. He kicked his wet socks onto the bed. He kicked his wet socks onto the bed. As she fell off the deck, Bess yelled. As she fell off the deck, Bess yelled. The red van did laps in the wet mud. The red van did laps in the wet mud. Ned and Ted sped by in the sled. Ned and Ted sped by in the sled. When he fell, Jeff checked his leg for cuts. When he fell, Jeff checked his leg for cuts. The 10 chicks were kicking up specks of dust. The 10 chicks were kicking up specks of dust. The 6 kids were packing and missed the bus. The 6 kids were packing and missed the bus. We will work with phrases you just read and change the focus from fluency to function. Turn to page 136 and let's look at part A. Listen to each phrase and repeat it. Write it on the line. Place an X to show which question the phrase answers. So I will read the phrase, you will repeat the phrase, you will write the phrase, and then I will read the phrase a second time as you check your work. Number 1, to our sled. To our sled. Number 2, up your leg. Up your leg. Number 3, on the red steps. On the red steps. Number 4, was packing last. Was packing last. Number 5, was spilling less. Was spilling less. let's look at part B. You are going to use the phrases that you wrote to complete the sentences. Let's look at number 1. Jill sat. So I want a location, so I want to look at the wheres that I checked. I checked to our sled, up your leg, and on the red steps. The only one of those that makes any sense is Jill sat on the red steps. Now let's look at the second one. Sam blank. Let's see if any of those make sense. Sam to our sled. Does that make sense? Sam up your leg. Does that make sense? Sam on the red steps. Is that a complete sentence? Sam was packing last. That makes sense. Sam was packing last. Now I want you to complete 3 through 5 on your own. Skilled readers constantly monitor what they know about the subject or the story. They ask themselves questions such as, do I know what's happening? Do I know when and or where it's happening? Why did the author include this detail? These questions need to come up automatically as you read or listen to text. They clarify what you know and what you still need to find out. They make these questions become an automatic response to text. And so, to do so, let's practice generating possible questions and answers by looking at pictures. Turn to page 138 in your student books. Looking at the picture on the left, I'm going to answer some questions. Who is involved in the recycling project? Students from Mrs. Jones's class are involved in the project. What are they recycling? The students are recycling the newspapers they use in class. When did they begin the project? They began the project when school started. How are they collecting the newspapers? Each class has a special recycling bin and a representative to monitor the recycling. Where do they take the paper? To a local recycling center. Why are they doing this project? The students wanted to help reduce waste, and they are earning money at the same time. Now notice those questions either begin with who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you may not know the answers for sure, but you want to come up with an answer that would make sense. For example, we don't know that their teacher's name is actually Mrs. Jones, but that does work as a possible answer. So now, in pairs, I want you to generate 6 questions for the second picture using the question words in the example. You are going to write the questions under the pictures, and then you're going to work to answer the questions using information from the pictures. Now remember, these are not, oh, this is definitely the answers, but answers that could be the answer.